what we have here is a mess, quite frankly. This is the bed for my old race truck. 79 Chevy square body, short bed. And I'm doing a series on getting this thing back on the track. And I'm going to be doing probably a good bit of more videos on this bed and how I got it back into some kind of a halfway decent shape. This is not necessarily one of those. This is more of a how to work with a particular product that I've used on it. That product is called Ospho. Ospho, if you don't know, is a rust conversion product. The primary ingredient in it that does anything is phosphoric acid. Rust is iron oxide, and the acid converts it into, it neutralizes it and converts it into iron phosphate, which at that point, it's as long as you stop it from having moisture and oxygen, from that point on, it should theoretically no longer rust. Now, that stuff does not work on huge caked on rust. You've got to get it down to just a little surface rust or some very light pitting. Now, you may look at this bed has been sandblasted, and you may look at it and say, hey, it doesn't really look like it's been sandblasted. It's kind of charcoal gray. Well, it is, because I sprayed Ospho on it before the winter, and it was bare metal. And, you know, any bare metal, particularly if you live down here in the South like I do, is we got a lot of humidity. So even if I just ground all this off right now and it was shiny bare metal, in a few minutes, if not pretty soon, it's going to have a light coat of surface rust. It might not look brown, but it'll have a light coat of surface rust. Well, while it was stored here in my garage, I dusted some Ospho on it, and I've got it in my little spray bottle here. That's about all I've got left, actually. So it's green, and I dusted it on here and months ago, and it's still sitting here in the garage. It hasn't rusted. It hasn't done anything. You can see this. This is not rust. This is actually upside down, because I had the bed flipped upside down working these corners here, and you can see how they're black. Those are done in epoxy, and it's fully cured, and Ospho or nothing else is going to hurt it now. I've got it flipped back over so I can do some more work to it. So anyway, I thought I'd let you know how to neutralize the Ospho before you do anything to the metal that it's on. Now, why would you need to neutralize it? Ospho claims, if you look on their site, that it leaves a paintable surface behind once it's dried and fully cured. With auto paints, that's not really true. I think if you're using an oil-based paint, you can paint that over Ospho, and you need to check your TDS sheet. Don't take what I say for the gospel here, but I can tell you this. I am using, and I'm not telling you to use it, but I am using SPI, which is Southern Polyurethanes epoxy. It is awesome. And I'm also going to be using their single stage black paint to paint the bed with. So they specifically, explicitly, in fact, say do not spray any of their products over Ospho or any other kind of rust conversion. You must neutralize it first, or it will not properly adhere and it will peel up eventually. And that is true. But they also give you a specific process to neutralize it with. And it's pretty easy, actually. So this is a cured Ospho surface right here. According to Ospho's TDS, you should theoretically be able to just scuff this up and paint over it. I would not. I wouldn't paint over it. I wouldn't Bondo over it. I wouldn't put anything over it until I got it right back in the square down to bare metal. Now, you might say, well, why don't you just grind it off? Well, if you grind it off, you're still going to have some on there. This is a treated surface. You're still going to have some on there. It leaves a coating behind. You need to neutralize it. So it's easy. So what you do is, all you do is you neutralize it with itself. So what you do is and I've already done this before the video here, but you spray Ospho. I'm going to dust a little bit more on here. You spray a little Ospho on the old dried up Ospho. You let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. Keep it wet. Keep it damp. You don't have to keep it running off in the floor. Keep it damp. At that point, just wash it. I don't know that you really need to use soap and water. What I use is an old Scotch-Brite pad and water. Wash it, or you're sort of really sanding it, but it's bare metal, so it's not like you're going to hurt it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dust. This is already sat before I ever did the video, remember. So I'm gonna put this over here, this water on here, and then we're just gonna sand it with the I mean, you could do it with a washcloth, of course. We're gonna sand it with the Scotch-Brite pad, and you can probably see it maybe changing color a little bit already, because we've softened up that old Ospho over there, and it's going to run off instead of just be smeared all around the metal. All right, and so then you're going to want to rinse it off, and probably more comprehensively than I'm doing with this, for sure. But you see it kind of getting shinier, because I told you there's bare metal under there. That's just nothing but an Ospho surface. All right, so that is, that was kind of a halfway measure of cleaning it. I would definitely clean it more than that, but I'm going to wipe it off now. This is just for demonstration purposes. All right, now you can see that's pretty much shiny metal, right? As compared to that, that's still charcoal gray, and this is more shiny. And you can see there's a repair bin done there, and I'll probably make a video covering that later. Now you say, how do I know I got all the old Ospho off? Well, it sounds funny, but you can actually lick this, and if it tastes sour, there's still acid there. So I am certainly not going to film myself licking the side of that bed, but I have actually done that just to be 100% sure I got it all off. Not this time, but in the past. So that's sort of a crude fail-safe to know. So that's all you got to do to get Ospho off. So basically, you wash the truck, you re-wet it with Ospho, let it sit for about 10 minutes to soften it all up, keep it damp, and then just wash the truck. Get you a bucket. Get you, I highly recommend getting an old Scotch-Brite pad. You can put soap and water in there if you want to, or just plain water, and then just kind of sand it. And when you get done with that, take you some, you don't have to use this kind, but take you some solvent, wax and grease remover, wipe it down. All right. That dries off immediately. It pretty much evaporates. And then take you some waterborne wax and grease remover. I've got SPI, but there are other brands. You don't have to use what I use, but you take some of that, wipe it down. All right. And at that point, it probably won't taste sour anymore if you really want to take it. But at that point, you should be good to go. And then now, what I would do here, once I got this ready to go, I would probably hit this with probably an 80 grit grinder. And this here is this is a repaired area, and it's ready for filler work now. And it's going to get, I don't want to get off subject too much. This is going to get some fiberglass filler on top of this for reinforcement first, and then regular body filler on top of that. But I'm not putting anything over it until this Ospho is neutralized. So anyway, there is a hopefully not too long video on how you work with Ospho. I have found this. I'm going to just do a slight little review here as well. I have found this stuff to be pretty darn awesome if you use it the way it ought to be used. And what I mean by that is you can't just have a big old rusty, nasty piece of metal and expect it to neutralize all that, go or just soak down through all the rust and neutralize all of it, and then you just paint right over it and it's never going to rust again. I don't think that's going to happen. But if you've got a fairly well prepped piece of metal that's got a little bit of light rust on it, and you want to stop it from rusting, like what I did was I sprayed this on here to stop it from rusting over the winter, and it did. Now I wouldn't leave this outside. It would probably break through the Ospho and rust anyway. The other thing I've done to this bed is, you can't really see up in here, but these Chevy trucks, they were known for having dual steel walls, right? So you got the outer wall, and then there's an inner one. Now I've got pictures of this, and I'll probably post when I start doing body work. But when I had this big patch cut out, that inner wall, and it's very thin right here, all the way down, is rusty because it's old. It's a 79. Well, I'm doing all this work to it, and I'm not expecting it to be perfect, but I'd sure like to know that it's not going to rust from the inside out. And you can't get to all that. The only way you could get to it would be to literally cut the outer layer off and then weld it back on, and that would just be just a ludicrous amount of work. You'd be better off just buying a whole new bedside. And this is a drag truck. It's never going to haul anything but rear end again. It's not going to be out in the snow or the rain or anything. So I just needed something to sort of slow the rust down or kind of stop it in its tracks. So while this bed was upside down, sprayed all down through here, over intermittently, I've been hammering, just drowning Ospho through there, and it runs all up the insides and all up on here, and it literally would be dripping out. When this was upside down, it'd be dripping out the bottom, which when this was the bottom. And I can tell you from looking up in there with a light and everything, it looks pretty much like this, because this right here is Ospho on rust. That's what it looks like. It turns into a black paintable surface. All this right here is Ospho on rust. All right, that's what it turns into. And I feel like that's going to help inside there. It's going to at least knock it back, and I'm probably ultimately going to put some either cavity wax or some kind of coating up under there, and I'm going to flip the bed upside down, and I'm just going to hose it and let it coat everything and run out, and then once that's coated, we're just going to pray for luck at that point. So now you can tell I probably got the I've just, as I'm standing here, I don't know if you've noticed that metal changing color a little bit. That's surface rust already starting. So you can tell it's kind of that's how fast metal will rust. Now I'm going to show you something. Now that I didn't intend on doing this, I'm going to dust this, because I actually wasn't getting ready to work on this. I'm really literally just making this video to show you the Ospho. That's going to turn right back charcoal gray like the rest of the bed. It'll probably take a few minutes, and I'm not going to sit here and just film the process on camera, but I may show it to you in a little while, take one more little piece of video. So anyway, the Ospho stuff works if you use it as it's intended. If you've got an old rust bucket and you think you're just going to spray this stuff on it and put some paint on there and you've killed your rust and you're never going to have another problem, no. You need to get the rust off of here, most of it off. And like these little pits right here, it works great for stuff like that. So if you've wire brushed or used a power wire brush and gotten everything, you can't quite get all that, man, the Ospho will just do a number on that stuff, and then you can coat it up, and it's over. You will not see any problem with that anymore. So I don't know if you can tell, but it's already sort of turning charcoal gray a little bit, even as I'm standing here talking. So that's not going to rust anymore. I mean, if you put it outside, obviously it'll rust, but inside the garage, it's good to go. I mean, for months. So that is my sort of a little bit of review of my experience with Ospho, and also how to neutralize it so you can work on the piece that you have preserved. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you have a better way of doing this, or if you know of another product that like maybe will get up inside that I can spray up in here that'll kill, prevent this thing from ever rusting, I'd sure love to hear about it, because I'm doing a lot of research, and about every 2 or 3 months I'll find something else and just completely change my whole plan. Anyway, questions, comments, let me know. Hope you maybe learned a little something. And that thing's still just steadily turning charcoal gray now, so it's reacting with what little bit of surface rust got on there just during this video. So questions, comments, let me know. Thanks for watching. Just so you can see, it's been about an hour or so since I finished videoing, and that's the place I sprayed with the Ospho. And look how charcoal gray it is, just like it used to be. So it works if you use it correctly. But just thought I'd let you know what it looked like after it dried. It's got that nice little coating on there. You just can't do anything on top of it. It won't stick. You got to get rid of it, neutralize it. See ya.